We're very lucky this morning or this afternoon I should say, it is just past midday, to be joined by Aaron Smith from KX Pilates. Aaron is an award-winning founder of KX Pilates, which is Australia's largest Pilates franchise. He founded KX in 2010 and has since grown the company to a mix of 60 plus company-owned and franchised studios across all the major Australian states. KX also opened its first international location in Indonesia this year, which is very exciting. You're expanding internationally after 10 years. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to have you in the studio with us, Aaron. So maybe if you can tell us about your different approach to health and fitness that you're taking with KX Pilates, and what differentiates KX from the classic Pilates studio.
Sure, so our Pilates is a high performance or high intensity version of Pilates. So we are on reformer machines, slightly customized for our style of fitness. But the real element where we think we're doing a lot better than most out there in the fitness market is the experience that we deliver to our clients. We believe firmly that if you provide a great experience, that our clients can't go anywhere else to get, then you've kind of got them for life. So that's what we really pride ourselves on. The workout is great, but the experience that clients receive in studios and all the touch points around as well are great.
So a mix of company-owned and franchise stores here.
Yep.
What was the decision to franchise early on in the business?
Sure, so I actually founded the style of Pilates from London. In my travels in my mid-20s, I stumbled across the first studio of its kind in London, fell in love with the style, fell in love with the clientele and just the entire experience as well. I knew that I wanted to bring that style back to Australia. I did realise then though that all of our trainers were going to our boss at the time saying, hey, I want to help and open up. She was saying no. So they went off and basically became our competition in London. So I realised when I came back to Australia and I wanted to start my own business that franchising was a real key to the success of the brand, because trainers get to a certain stage where they want to do things themselves, or they think they can do it better. So if we're there to assist them and help them in all the business sense that they don't necessarily know too much of. They're great trainers, they're great people for the experience of the brand. So yeah, that's why franchising really worked for us. So I think at the moment, just under 45% are ex-trainers, and then the rest are ex-clients or clients who are in love with the brand.
Because it is hard, isn't it? Like, you might know the industry really well and you've got the domain expertise, but knowing how to scale a business is a completely different thing altogether, isn't it? And a lot of people don't appreciate that. And that's why we've probably seen a lot of gyms come and go over the 10 years that you've been in business, even massive franchises.
Yep.
And it's probably testament to the way that you hire from within.
Correct.
So can you tell us about that recruitment process where you tend to hire people who have trained at KX owned gyms initially?
Yeah, I mean, so our recruiting process is very much internal. So we call them our raving fans, our clients and also our trainers who love the brand, and they love everything to do with the business, the people around it, and they kind of fit the mold. That's why they're coming every day, that's why they're telling their friends about it, and that's why they're great trainers in the network. So when you've already ticked those boxes of culture, alignment, all you have to teach them is what they don't know. So that's probably why our success has been so good, is because the people have come internal.
What was the decision last year then to step down from the CEO post in November 2018, was
Correct.
it? So
yep.
It's coming up to over 12 months now. It's been a little while that you've probably adjusted to the transition, but what was behind that? I understand that would have been quite tough to actually relinquish that control.
Yes and no. It was a long time coming. I realised the early days, very similar to running one studio, then you start to run 2, 3 or 4. Running a small franchise is very personal. You're really, really close to your owners. It's a great feeling, but obviously as the brand grows, you just can't have that personal touch that you did in the beginning. I always knew that I wanted to hit 50 studios, and that was my goal personally. And I always knew that after that I would step to the side and bring in someone who has more experience, more knowledge, that can really take the business to the next level, which is exactly what I did, and it's worked out really well. Selena, our CEO now, is brilliant. She's completely culturally aligned. Our owners love her, trainers love her, staff love her, and we work exceptionally well together. So it's been a great move.
And obviously scaling a business is not without its challenges. And I know that in the early days you paid yourself a really meager salary of $200 a week when you're working over 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
What other challenges have you encountered? Because that's obviously an early stage founder challenge in itself, the money issue, but there'd be plenty of other things along the way too.
Yeah, I mean, how long have we got today, really? Yeah, look, I was paying myself not much. I was living with my parents. I was driving my dad's car. I stopped socialising and drinking because I couldn't afford it, and spent kind of every day and night there for the first, 18 to 24 months. And it's kind of what I had to do. I look back and it was very much the grind, and it wasn't much fun looking back, but it was great to see the light at the end of the tunnel and to move. But Matt, there's been a lot of mistakes. I can talk about, there was a time when franchise fees started coming through, and I do a lot of travel overseas to kind of see what the other markets are doing. Ballet bar was very big. Obviously the hot yoga space was very big. Cycle studios are very big. So instead of reinvesting back into the Pilates brand, I started opening up these little side businesses of, KX Pilates, KX bar, KX yoga, KX cycle. And I really took the focus off Pilates for a little bit there, and I realised that the main core driver was Pilates, and I was passionate about Pilates as well. So when I realised this, I kind of pushed them all off back to the side, debadged them or rebranded them, and then put my focus straight back on Pilates, and we've grown pretty well since. So again, it's about losing your focus or
would have been a lot of investment then going into those other studios, equipment as well as staff.
Yeah, I mean, they were successful businesses in their own right, but Pilates was already like 3-4 years established. So when the exponential curve of Pilates started kicking off, the other brands just couldn't keep up. We were starting to expand around Australia, and these other brands weren't ready for that yet. So again, it was just about pushing them to the side, and I handed them off to some fantastic people. They're still doing great now under different brands, but yeah, Pilates is where we're at.
How interesting is that? Yeah. So how did you decide then to move into Indonesia, and you plan to move into the US as well? Why those markets, particularly Indonesia? I don't hear that from a lot of people that they want to take that market.
No, Indonesia was a really interesting one. We exhibited at the Singapore Licensing and Franchise Expo 2 years in a row, and we stumbled across our partner there. She's a very well-known person on the ground over in Indonesia. She's got great connections, both government and social influence as well. That's very important when you're dealing with a country in Indonesia. Everyone I've spoken to as well, it's very hard to get into Indonesia unless you're Indonesian. They very much keep everything in closed doors of the country. So we just met a great person. She lived in Melbourne for 6 years, so had an affinity to Melbourne. She's Western educated, so we got along really well, and it was really easy to do that. And now we're looking to grow her into, she's got 25 studios over a couple of years, so we're pushing to a couple more next year, so yeah, should be going well there. And China is next. I mean, USA we've actually paused. We've signed a joint venture deal with some business partners in China, and we're really going to focus on that for the next 12 to 24 months. Our first studio should be opened in the first quarter, and obviously big growth there.
Is Pilates a thing in China yet? Are you planning to bring it there?
Education of Pilates and the physiotherapy style of Pilates is just cracking it. Very similar to what Australia was 10 years ago when I started. Boutique fitness isn't really there yet. There's a few yoga studios which are paving the way of boutique fitness. Again, what we were seeing 10 years ago, and big box gyms are everywhere. But again, they're losing that experience that we provide.
Yeah, so Australia tends to lead the way a lot with health and fitness and consumer trends, don't we?
Correct. Australia, US and the UK are pretty much on par now, yep.
Yeah, wow. So that's next. China, Indonesia, USA is on hold for a little bit.
Correct.
What's next in your Australian studios? You have invested more in your equipment recently too, haven't you?
Sure. So I mean, the Australian
to improve the workouts.
Yeah, the Australian business is going well, and it's still at our forefront. So yes, we will look in international areas, but we're still growing at anywhere between 12 and 18 studios a year here in Australia, and we've mapped out anywhere from 150 plus studios here. We don't want to be saturating the market at all. We really want to be in great positions where our owners can really thrive and provide that exclusive experience. Equipment is on the cards. I've been working pretty hard the last 18 months on developing our own customized equipment specific to our style of Pilates. At the moment, as I said, we customize a generic piece of machinery that a lot of people can also do very easily. So we really want a machine that enables and makes our workout better, gives more moves, more experiences. Yeah.
Science backed.
Pretty much, yep. There's a lot of testing going on at the moment. We've got 55 in company studios at the moment going through rigorous testing in our classes. So
yeah, I bet.
It's exciting.
Those classes are hard.
It's exciting, yeah.
And what advice, Aaron, would you have for people looking to start a business in any space even, not necessarily health and fitness?
Wow. The list goes on. I would say the number one thing is surround yourself with people who have been there and done that, and mentors. That's been basically my number one reason for where I am today. You know, it's very big in the entrepreneur space to read books. I'm not a huge reader, but I will call people, grab coffees. I've joined a lot of entrepreneur groups. So to me, it's face to face. It's because I'm very much a relationships person. So that's where I get a lot of. I've just started with Selena an internal and external advisory board as well, which is fantastic, just to get around great minds to help us go to that next level. So people for me is definitely number one.
People first.
Don't do it on your own. There's so many people who have been there and done that. And people get to a stage very similar to myself where they want to give back naturally because they've made all the mistakes and they don't want to see you make all the mistakes. And if it's not going to affect them and their business, you know, if they're in different industries, then it's very willing to help out.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.